I guess you wonder where I've been. Around the world, I'm back again. I came back to let you know. Got a video. I'm coming with some more. What's happening, people of the internet? I'm back, finally, once again, with another video. And today we're talking about how to avoid messed up situations. Alright? So, we already know that the way that this place we call Earth is set up, we attract everything that happens to us, right? Okay, cool. So that means you're the cause and the effects are the things that happen to you, okay? So your life is the cause of all that happens in your life. I'm sure that's easy to understand. All right, cool. So what we're trying to figure out is how to kind of get ahead on life, like be one step ahead, how to make sure that we avoid situations that we don't want to be in, because a lot of the time we can have the mentality of the victim mentality, what I would call the victim mentality, where we'll act like life happens to us and not that life just happens, right? Or that maybe something happened to us and we had no contribution or we're not to blame for it or anything like that. And that's just nonsense, because when you really know what's going on here, this is all a matter of this world being basically a mirror of all of your inner thoughts and all of your biggest flaws, right? All right, so cool. Well, we could go on a whole another video talking about why this world is messed up, and I made a video about it, but I'll probably make another one because I got some more deep information. I've had people ask me where I've been and stuff. Man, I've been living life, still on my pursuit of happiness, just like you. But I'm back, so hey, sometimes I just gotta take a minute to get stuff together and whatnot. So, hey, value what I'm coming with, cause shoot, I don't owe it, but I'm grateful you're here. So now that we're here, let's talk about how to avoid these situations. All right, cool. So something could happen to you, right? And you might ask yourself, how did this even happen to me? Or like, how did I get here, right? So there's a few different ways that you can make sure that you don't end up in situations that you don't want to end up in. All right, so number one, if you notice that you're having to prepare yourself in any way, like as far as something that you're about to head into, if you're having to prepare yourself mentally for it, that's probably a situation that you're not going to want to actually go into, because things should just naturally flow, right? So if the water element is the element that's the most flexible, right? Water can fit in any container you put it in. Water is able to move. It's able to change form. It can go into ice. It can go into liquid, gas, whatever, bro. Whatever it needs. You want to be as similar to water as possible when you're in this place. So if you're attracting a situation and you'll find yourself like having to like think over what you're going to say first, or like anticipating the reactions of things, all of that, yeah, that's not a situation you really want to get yourself into. Now, sometimes it's already too late and we're just going to have to handle some stuff, and that's cool. But what I'm talking about is when you always have the option of saying no and turning something down or walking away or what have you. But sometimes we just got to do what we got to do, right? So if you find yourself doing that too often, you're probably going to start attracting a lot of situations, or keep attracting a lot of situations that you actually don't want to be in. So what you really need to do is recognize when you're mentally preparing yourself. Because a lot of times people don't tell themselves like, all right, let me get myself mentally prepared to do X, Y, Z. It normally don't go like that, You're just going to be naturally doing it. You might be trying to dress a certain way or thinking about how others might perceive whatever it is that you're doing. And if you feel the need to try to like comply or in any way alter the way that you naturally are, that's situations you don't really favor. Or should I say they won't really favor you as much as other situations. Because all this stuff's supposed to come naturally, okay? So keep that in mind. Hold on, let me take my shoes off real quick. I gotta get grounded, you dig? Hold on now. All right, let me get some of that good earth in me. All right, cool. So that's one way. You notice yourself preparing yourself. Also, if you wanna make sure you're choosing the right choice, if you're not quite sure what choice you wanna make, then what you can do is sit down and have a little contemplation. I personally feel like there's a big difference between contemplation and meditation. I feel like meditation is really when you're clearing your mind of thoughts, and then contemplation is when you're thinking about something specific. Some people say they meditate on stuff, but it doesn't really matter what you call it, bro. All this stuff is nonsense. Everything makes no sense. So anyways, when we are sitting down, we want to do this thing where we basically just think about whatever situation we're trying to have as the greatest possible outcome, and then we want to think about the worst possible outcome. And then what we want to do is basically feel the amount of emotion that you feel towards all your options. Now, of course, that's not all you need to do is just think about the two extremes, but you also need to find what might be seen as neutral. And if you do this and you start doing this often enough, you'll realize the differences in the ways that your body reacts, right? So you might notice that your heart rate starts increasing when you think about something bad, or you might realize that you get a certain kind of itch. Like if you're looking for a sign, right? All this is about like looking for signs and paying attention to the signs, because we get them all the time. So if you start all of a sudden trying to ask for an answer, and then you suddenly hear a really loud noise like a horn honk or a dog bark, right? It could be something like that, and you might be able to see that as a sign going towards whatever you want, right? That's the external ways, and when you're listening for things and looking for signs and stuff like that. And that's really not the most ideal way of doing it, because there's a lot of ways that stuff can be miscommunicated or misconstrued, and basically you might not be getting the sign that you think you're getting, or should I say, you won't be receiving it in the ways that you are really hoping to, right? Because if you already are aware that you're not exactly as balanced as you should be, and you're finding yourself looking for answers, so you're already in some form of lostness, right? Which, that's okay, we all lost in this place in some shape or form. That's why we're here. We don't even remember how we got here. Do you? Do you? I'm still trying to figure out, how do we get here? Anyway, so if we got this look at me, this contemplation going, and we're sitting here thinking about the most favorable outcomes and all that stuff, when we start seeing how we react emotionally to the things, it might be easier to eliminate the options that we really don't want. So that can be done a number of ways, and you got to find what works for you, of course, just like anything. Because I might think that it's better for me to go put the soles of my feet on the earth and simply receive the information from the earth. That's because I'm aware of how to do that. But maybe you haven't developed that ability, so it takes time. So you might have to do 2 or 3 things. You might have to ground yourself first, put the soles of your feet on the earth, let the earth pull all of that bad energy, those toxins, those positive ions, whatever you want to call it. Let the earth balance your frequency out. That's why they call it grounding yourself, right? So the ground is neutral. So when you ground yourself, you could go into this meditation right afterwards. Okay, so doing that after the situation where you ground yourself or contemplate or what have you, you're gonna be able to respond in ways that will start to favor you more often, more frequently. Now, of course, all of this stuff takes practice. So you could try some stuff. Like, all of this stuff is really a big experiment. In life, you got to be willing to experiment. So be willing to do something that you aren't necessarily familiar with or comfortable with. That's the only way you're going to figure out how to think outside the box and utilize that right brain. Because if you always stick with what's familiar or what's comfortable or what you think you know, bro, you ain't never going to learn nothing worth knowing. I promise you. So you got to be willing to be uncomfortable to get comfortable. That being said, sometimes it's inevitable that you're going to attract something that might seem like a messed up situation, but that's because of the way that these series of events work in this world. All of this stuff is setting us up for the next thing. Now, of course, there are things under your control here, right? I mean, you can control all this stuff, but at the same time, you can't, which is a clear contradiction. But this is how it goes here. Like, everybody else's choices are affecting the opportunities and choices that you end up coming across also. So you got to keep that in mind. There's only so much you can control consciously. All of this stuff is in the subconscious though. So if you really want to understand how to deal with the world and manipulate this place and do stuff like some people might call magic or magical things, you have to be able to access your subconscious. And there's a billion videos I can make about different exercises and stuff, and I got them coming for sure. But for now, I'm just gonna basically scratch the surface with this, because that's what this channel is for. I'm going deeper and deeper as we keep going. So I started off with some lucid dreaming and astral projection tips, and basically we're all supposed to be growing together. So as you all continue to grow, I love to know what you've learned, which abilities you're developing, and all that stuff, because we're all on this uprising. We're all on this consciousness wave that's clearly increasing at a rapid rate, and it can't be stopped. So that being said, I appreciate you watching this video. I'm hoping that you at least comprehend what I'm saying.